The Atlanta Falcons make a huge no-brainer decision, and the NFL also makes a surprising decision. This story and much more on this post Father's Day edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style.
The autumn winds move like the thunderous waves of Neptune's sacred palace. And here, amongst the blackened soil, lies the ragged hands, worn, torn, and callous. They await with cunning and vicious prowess, for the warriors have returned.
Come on, Dirk! Don't do it! Woo! No way! Woo! 85! Crying out loud! You're making me, you're driving me nuts!
But behold.
Welcome back, Gabbers. Thank you all so much for joining us here on this post-Father's Day edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Again, you are joined by the one and only Mr. CeeLo. And just want to take a moment to give a gab out to all you fathers out there, as well as giving a huge gab out to all of the fathers who had the grill today. And giving a special Father's Day gab out to my own father, my own pops. Thank you for all that you've been able to get us through these last 3 years, as well as developing us into great men that are saying that we are leaving our marks on this planet. As well as a big gab out to my grandfathers, who gave me the two wonderful parents that raised myself and my brothers. And finally, another huge gab out to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who set the greatest example for my father and my grandfather and my grandparents to have. And a big gab out to my Father up in heavens, whom allowed me to have the father and the grandparents that I so have. Thank you, and I love you. But guys, let us get into the nitty gritty, which is one of the big stories that took place is, many of you may have heard, is that the NFL has canceled its supplementary draft. Now, a lot of people are saying that the NFL not hosting this 32-team supplemental draft that is, just normally one of those where the players either decide to come out late or they're just guys that did not get their applications in. But normally they have these drafts. But this year, and I know a lot of people are saying that it's possibly related to Brendan Sorsby making his professional debut in 2026, saying that he cannot enter the league this year. So I don't know if that may be the case, but just in case many of you don't know, let me give you the background on this a little bit. As Sorsby was ruled ineligible, and if you guys know any of this story, he had some issues with gambling. And when he transferred to Texas Tech, he was ruled ineligible by college football after admitting to making thousands of dollars in sports bets, totaling in excess of $90,000 during his college career. After dropping his lawsuit by the NCAA, he later applied for the NFL supplemental draft. Now, dating backwards, when he was at Texas Tech, he filed a lawsuit there stating that he wanted to be able to play this season. And initially, he was slated to play. And then I think Texas Tech, I think it was the state of Texas overruled, said it was unconstitutional or something of that nature. And which there was a huge uproar amongst the NCAA football teams, especially within the Big 12 conference. And as you know, the powers that be, when there's more than one, you got to speak up, and you got to go where it goes, because needless to say, you don't want to leave a bad stain with the NCAA or within your conference. So, of course, he dropped his lawsuit and basically he applied for the late supplemental draft, and the NFL, for whatever reason, decided not to have a supplemental draft, and a lot of people are saying this was the cause of it. Who knows? Maybe it was because there were so many players that had such a harsh stance on this. According to the legal pushback, Sorsby's attorney Jeff Kressler slammed the move as a violation of the collective bargaining agreement and vowed to immediately pursue legal action through the NFL Players Association. So we'll find out some of the underlining themes of why the NFL decided that they were not going to host a supplemental draft this summer. The NFL rejected his position, citing a lack of supporting documentation and stating that his application conflicted too heavily with the league's core integrity policies regarding gambling. Sorsby is now barred from signing anywhere in the NFL as a free agent this season, but can prepare for the NFL draft in 2027. This doesn't sound good, and I will say this: do I think the NFL should make that decision? I don't think the NFL should make that decision. I know a lot of you guys might disagree with what I'm saying here. That the NFL is a privilege, but I think it's up to the organizations to make that decision whether this guy is worth the pursuit. That's just my personal opinion on it. The only crime he committed was he didn't show much integrity while he was on the field. We've seen this. We've seen it romanticized and poked at in movies such as the famous The Longest Yard. Everybody knows about Paul Wrecking Crew. And when we don't know, I can't say we definitively know how he bet on football, but it's never a good look when you're voting on your own team. And I'm just of the belief that the NFL in itself doesn't need to ban this guy. I think ultimately the NFL decides who it wants to let in, who it doesn't want to let in. I don't think this is a situation where you even have to make a decision like that. It's as simple as we don't want to take the risk. I mean, especially when you look at what the NFL is going to have coming into this league next season. Now, I get it. There are a lot of teams that could be tempted to take Sorsby at his word, but it just appears that they don't want to touch this. So, yeah, it just blocks the former Texas Tech Cincinnati Bearcat quarterback from making his pro debut. Technically, he never even had a Texas Tech debut. So, on that note, I think ultimately it's a situation that the NFL just did not want to have a backlash with, which I don't think any of the owners or any of the GMs within the circle would have even wanted that, because Sorsby was a good player. He was not an efficient enough player or effective enough player for any team, in my opinion, to pursue this. I think all of the teams that are quarterback hungry are willing to stay par and possibly wait for next season. On to the next, which is the Atlanta Falcons extending Kyle Pitts. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. And probably one of the smartest moves the Atlanta Falcons have made in recent years. However, is Kevin Stefanski going to do what the Falcons have failed to do until late last season, which is utilize a freak of nature? But anyhow, Falcons signed Kyle Pitts to a 3-year, $54 million extension. This makes him the third highest paid guy behind George Kittle and Trey McBride. So, looking at this and hearing what the context of is that Pitts will serve as the primary target in an offense that features a training camp battle between Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix Jr. Now, while I agree with this, I also don't agree with the fact that he's going to be featured. Listen, you can say a lot of things to me, But the one thing I don't see in Atlanta is that them featuring Kyle Pitts. That's just a joke. And a lot of people will say, well, like my buddy Reggie, why would you think that this is a joke? And I'll tell you why it was a joke. Because for how many years did Kyle Pitts waste away in the Atlanta Falcons receiving corps? Too many. I mean, anybody that knows me and have watched this show, I have said numerous times, Kyle Pitts should be option number 1 in the pass game. Not Bijan, not Drake. Kyle Pitts. This is a matchup nightmare. Now, you could argue Bijan Robinson is a matchup nightmare amongst safeties and linebackers. I get it. But realistically, you do want him to touch the football. And him being Bijan Robinson. But you got an even nastier mismatch with Kyle Pitts. A guy who is dang near 6'6".
God damn.
Has gained weight since he's joined the NFL and has seemingly kept the same speed. You know, that 4.38 speed. That Kenyon Sadiq speed that everybody's drooling over. The only difference is Kyle Pitts goes 3 inches taller, and I think he has a wingspan of about 10 inches longer, maybe in between 8 to 10, give or take. And you saw how he dominated that Tampa Bay game. Basically, in a nutshell, carrying the Carolina Panthers to the playoffs. Because realistically, when you watch that game, this showed you everything you needed to know about Kyle Pitts, Atlanta Falcons, and where they needed to take this team. Now, I am going to say this. The most important thing that the Falcons can do here, realistically, you've got a problem that many teams don't have. You have an elite running back. Yes, Falcon fans, you heard me say it. And he can do so many different things. This is not an elite back where all he can do is run the football in between the tackles or go to the outside. This is a guy that can do it all. And he runs with authority, agility, and extreme speed. And then he can catch the football on all 3 levels. And can take it the distance. So with Stefanski, as much as I'm a guy who thinks a guy like Bijan Robinson is that dangerous home run threat that should touch the ball at least 300-400 times a season, cut that in half. Kyle Pitts needs to touch the ball at least 100 times this season. Drake London needs to touch that thing at least 90 times. A lot of people are going to look at me and say I am crazy. But you got a guy in Pitts who should touch it at least 100 times. Bijan should touch it at least 200 to 250. And then Drake London should touch it anywhere from 90. So all of your 3 guys are going to get their level of touches. A lot of people are going to look at me and say, well, how do you manage that? You don't have anything else. I'm sorry, the rookie from Georgia, yeah, he looks like a good player, but let's keep it in perspective. These 3 guys are the cornerstone of your offense. You can't cover them all. I'm just keeping it in perspective. And if Stefanski's half the play caller he was for guys like David Njoku, they're going to get Kyle Pitts open. Kyle Pitts can win this team a division title given that they get James Pierce Jr. in the situation, out of the situation that he's in right now. And looks like things are looking up. That he could possibly be available for training camp, barring his legalities that he's going through, and possibly just get suspended 6 to 8 games. Now, a lot of people are going to say, ooh, that's a big chunk of the season. It is, but if you can get the man behind center right, if you can get the player behind center right, and Stefanski can get Kyle Pitts in situations where he's getting the safety valve grabs, not Bijan Robinson 100% of the time, and not Drake London, not Bijan Robinson 75% of the time, and Drake London the other 25%, and Kyle Pitts none. All he is a decoy and a guy that's blocking out there. It's real simple. When you get Kyle Pitts to football, good things happen. As much as I want to say that for Bijan Robinson, good things happen, but at what cost? Because most teams are going to sit there and they're just going to bite down on Bijan Robinson. Not so much a guy like Kyle Pitts, because guess what? Atlanta coaching staffs have not given other teams a reason to fear him.
Dumb shit! Dumb shit! Dumb shit!
Why would you be afraid of something that nobody's giving you a reason to substantiate the claim of fear?
Stupid! Stop the cap!
That just makes no sense.
You don't get it, do you? Why don't you explain it to me?
And Atlanta fans, in my opinion, if you're going to be successful in 26, no matter whether it's Penix or Tagovailoa, Pitts must catch 75 to 100 balls this season. Period. You tried it with Drake London, didn't work. That run you had last season, Kyle Pitts was the catalyst. Now, do I think this contract is too much or too little or whatever? I don't think it's enough. Atlanta fans, you got to deal with this. And I'm just being honest, because truthfully, had I been Kyle Pitts, I'm making y'all pay. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to make you pay. Because you basically, in a nutshell, kept me in a situation where I'm being restricted. And you wait until I'm the only guy that you have on the field of any type of playmaker, and then you decide, hey, we got to use him. But it's over and done. I'm hoping as a rival that they utilize him correctly. I'm never going to talk bad about opposing players, because they are players and they're gentlemen just like all of us are. I think Kyle Pitts is a freak of nature. He is just absolutely a phenomenal athlete with God-given abilities, and I want to see him succeed. I really do. I want to see him succeed, and hopefully they can get it together and get it where this guy is playing, just as long as he don't do it against the Carolina Panthers. I think this is a good deal. The question is, can Stefanski do like he did with guys like Njoku and Harold Fainen? See what they can do with these guys, and possibly break this guy into one of his best seasons. I think this guy could have a monster year. That Tampa Bay game is just a drop in the bucket of what you can see from Kyle Pitts. Let me know what you think, Falcons Nation. Guys, make sure if you like the show, give this show a thumbs up. Also, make sure that if you are a first-time viewer, make sure you put your name and where you're watching from in the comments. Let me know what you think about the Brendan Sorsby situation. Do you think the NFL purposely shut down the supplemental draft for him, or do you think it was just a decision that they made? And if you agree with it, put down in the comments. Make sure that if you like the show, make sure you hit that sub button so you can get all of my shows as they drop. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you can get notified as soon as I drop a show or a short. Make sure you go over to Facebook at Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Check out the Facebook page as well as the group. Join the group as well as add us as a friend on the page. Finally, make sure you go over to Instagram if you want to keep the banner going with me, or you have a comment, as well as if you have a show idea, hit me up over at Instagram at Mr. CeeLo so you can keep up with all of my off-season shenanigans that I will be caught up in. But until the next time, same Gab channel, same Gab platform.
But behold, there is a warm breeze that comes from the west. The blazing sounds of victory fuel their everlasting quest. It is a call to arms, for they are here. An army that has the will to challenge and the will to dare.